rightfully. That's what it's all about. We're going to
There's
talk
only two
about.
of us today.
Oh,
Just me and Burk talking about trailers.
Mark is off practicing in his punk rock band. They have a big show coming up at Madame Wong's this weekend, and he's really got to practice.
Because, everything's opening up again. So here we go.
Live music.
All right.
Mark's punk rock band is just about to get a record label deal. So in the meantime, Kathy and I are going to talk about some trailers, some classic 70s trailers. And that was like I think the prime era for trailers. Or at least maybe it was a time when I was just starting to watch movies. It was like
well, we had a lot of good movies too.
Yeah.
And so when you see these trailers, you'll see the difference in like how trailers are now compared to then. It's a whole different aesthetic. We have a voiceover that is very intrusive, explaining things. Like we don't really do, that's not really hip anymore. People don't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, they let the movie speak for itself in some ways. But then in some ways, I think modern trailers tell too much of the story. They give too much away. They show all the cool scenes. And then when you go see the movie, you're like, it was nothing new. Sometimes they don't, but I mean, too often that's something that's sort of disappointing about trailers. I don't want to watch trailers as much as I used to. But then it's the classic era of, like an actual teaser trailer where, like the one we're about to watch it didn't give anything away. It was like, it gave a little bit away, but it made you want to see the movie and to see what the hell, what's going to happen here. This is cool.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because a lot of people see these movies over and over, but you don't see the trailers very often. I mean, why show them? No one ever shows them. So I think it'll be interesting to look at these and just see the style. So we're going to start with Jaws. Everybody ready? Spielberg's big movie. Put him on the map.
Who?
All right.
It was a bit long.
What's funny? We talked about it doesn't show everything. It shows everything. I mean, you pretty much see the entire movie. The thing I thought was interesting is that, this is one of my most favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Love it. But I am totally sensitive and freaked out about animal stuff. Cannot see it. Can't watch it. I still love this movie, but I do see it a little differently now.
Yeah.
When they talk about the eating machine, the evil, it's like, no, it's just the animal. It needs to eat, just like everything.
As if God made a devil. It's like this. No,
it's just a predator.
Yeah.
Just usual predator, like any other predator. And I do feel bad for the shark. I don't think they needed to kill it. So
I always felt bad for the shark.
I did too. I didn't think
there's that scene where all the people are going out there like, woo, they're going to go out and kill the sharks, and they're posing for photographs with them. It really it does point out that kind of gross, kill it mentality that people have with animals.
And they got the wrong shark, and then it caused a whole chain reaction of people wanting to kill sharks, and this movie still holds on, till today. But for the trailer itself, it pretty much was a linear trailer. It showed the story. It showed the beginning killing. It showed him at the beach with the first horrible killing on the beach. It showed him finding Richard Dreyfuss and figuring out how they're going to hunt and kill it. Then they find Quint, and then they get on the boat. I mean, it pretty much was a really short version of the movie without really tying up the loose ends.
It's got some
and
of the
then
best
the
lines
super overwrought narration. And then I love how he has to read the names. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw. Like you can't read. Right. So it's funny just to see that style, but I got goosebumps watching that trailer. I was just this trailer. So I just love this movie. And when I was a little kid, I had a huge crush on Roy Scheider. None of my friends knew who that was. They're like, what? And they're all like, we like, whoever, like little teeny bopper, kids, Kirk Cameron or something. I was like, oh no, Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider was great, man. He was
so good in this.
He's in so many really good movies, like Sorcerer and
that's right.
The 7-Ups, he so many of those classic 70s crime movies. That guy was great. He was. And people don't really remember him as much, I guess, because he's not around anymore, but he was such a good actor, I think, that he became invisible in a lot of his roles.
Yeah.
He wasn't this outlandish personality like Jack Nicholson or someone.
He was a character actor,
He was a real guy in the movies.
Yeah. But I like that they cast him in the lead, I mean, Spielberg wasn't really a proven he wasn't really a proven director yet. Right. This was kind of like, we're going to give you this movie to do, Universal, and he was a kid. They were learning as they went. But what I loved about this trailer is that it's all super iconic. I mean, you see this movie, even people haven't, I don't know who these people are, but if you haven't seen Jaws, the artwork, that music,
the music,
cruising underwater and looking up at the feet swimming. I mean, just so beautifully iconic. So I still think that's a super effective trailer.
It is. It made, when I was watching it just now, I was like, you know what? I want to watch this movie.
I know.
Maybe tonight.
Exactly. So there's Jaws. So we have another one, another great trailer from the 70s, another great movie.
Yeah.
A little bit more proven director when he got this movie.
Well, yeah. What was funny about this about Jaws was at the beginning of the trailer, it says from Universal comes the adaptation of Peter Benchley's book. And it was like, oh, Peter Benchley was more famous than Steven Spielberg at that point.
Well, it was a huge book at the time. Yeah.
But they would have, you know, a little bit, not too many years later, it would have been from Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because the next trailer we're going to watch is also based on a huge book. So we're going to talk about William Friedkin's The Exorcist.
Ah.
Now we're going to put his name on it, even though William Peter Blatty wrote a huge book.
Yeah.
And the book was scary also.
The book is great. The book, even if you're really familiar with the movie, it's fun to read the book because the book is, you know, different from the movie, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's so well written, and you can tell why. And you can also see with The Exorcist, and I'm talking about the movie, not the trailer, but the movie is very influenced by the feel of the book.
Yeah.
So the book really was instrumental in the feel of that movie, and I think the intensity of it and everything. But the trailer is another
now we're watching
classic.
this trailer. We did not watch this ahead of time. We're trying to react to it as we watch it. It's like, you know, like we're in the movie theater seeing trailers, and then we'll dissect the marketing as we go. So we're going to watch The Exorcist.
Something beyond comprehension is happening to a little girl on this street, in this house. A man has been sent for as a last resort to try and save her.
I don't think this is the right trailer.
I think it is. I mean, I remember this.
The flashing and the okay, I'll keep going then. Okay, we should put a epileptic warning ahead of this one. A lot of flashing lights.
Like flashing lights.
I don't remember this part. Okay, I'll let it go.
Very experimental.
Okay, I'll give them points for completely radical weirdness. If that was indeed the trailer, which I don't remember that trailer, but you know, I wasn't really cognizant of these things back then.
There were other trailers. There were a couple other ones.
Maybe I'll find a better one.
Yeah, that's one that I do remember seeing. And I can't guarantee that it was one of the original ones. It might be for like a re-release or something, or some other purpose, you know, like for
it says original theatrical trailer.
Yeah.
So it could have been made for effect, like a teaser trailer is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Like and, you know, but it had that great, I mean, there's nothing better in that movie than an opening scene of opening scene of the trailer, not the opening scene of the movie, of this guy getting out of the car in that foggy street. And it was so powerfully iconic. They made a poster out of it also.
Yeah.
Of him standing there looking at this house. I mean, horrifying. Just so good, so eerie. And so the marketing for this is you're going to base it on that one scene.
Yeah.
I love that they went quiet with it, and they did quiet eerie, and they didn't go exorcist, demon. You know, they kept it super low key, very 70s cool. So I give it big points for that. And I actually love the flashing black and white high graphic, high con graphics. If that is indeed the actual trailer. Who gave me this trailer? Who did?
Where'd you get that? No, it was the movie. I mean, that movie, the trailers and the press, the pre-release press and all that kind of stuff is what really, really sold this movie. Because I have memories of when this film came out. And I remember being too young to see it. And I think it took me a little while to see it. But I was desperate to see this movie because there was like articles in magazines about people losing their minds and going to insane asylums because they saw the film, throwing up and fainting, and somebody had a heart attack and was carried out of the theater. There was all these rumors, and then there were rumors that there were all these mysterious accidents on the set, and that there was actual somebody, and the rumors that this was a true story, is based on a true story, and that there was real, if you watch this movie, there's a chance you could get really possessed. That was like the, the sort of
the movie alone,
but it was like those sort of bizarre QAnon style rumors existed back in those days. People were talking about, this is a movie that's going to open the gateway to Satan. That's and right. If you see it, you're gonna have the devil's gonna come in and get you in the theater. And
well, certainly by watching this trailer, people have seizures. They'll probably think they're possessed.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, having having epilepsy in the old days was called demonic possession. So that's
right. Now I do have another Exorcist trailer just to try. We can watch another version because that was a cool trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was for real, but I loved it, so we showed it. But we do have another one that might be more traditional. Okay. So let's give this a shot.
That one is that's a great trailer because it's subtle in some ways and it's crazy in some ways. And Ellen Burstyn is just the best actress of all time.
I think that might have been the same voiceover guy because he had that "save, this is what's going to happen, pure evil." I thought it was interesting. They have a lot of quick cuts from the crazy Exorcist stuff, like the exorcism and her possession and all that. And then the one scene they land on that we have this long scene is her talking to the priest about like, you tell me, my daughter, it's all in her head. So they have this kind of quiet scene, this big long kind of quiet scene in the middle of all this craziness. And then they just show a quick cut of the exorcist arriving at the door.
Well, they're letting you know that there's a question, like the whole one.
But I thought that was interesting marketing angle, like that's where they would go. And, as we saw, like it's a whole different pacing from trailers now. Like it opens really, like I almost started laughing because that black mute, the black screen with the music took a long time to kick in. That never would happen nowadays.
Sitting in the theater going, what is this? That's that sound.
It's like listening, looking around. Like, what is that?
Something's on the screen, but I'm not seeing it yet. And then it's
very interesting choice.
There it is. And then it's like this, and I think at the time people had heard about The Exorcist, and I'll bet when you heard that music in the theater and you were like, ooh, this is the Exorcist trailer.
Yeah, they didn't play the tubular bells for any of them. Very interesting. And I thought it was interesting too, because in my head, I imagined them ending that trailer on like a slow motion, that guy arriving, getting out of the car and standing in front of the house. And they didn't do that. Right. Where like, I was to recut that, I would end on that. Like that would be the last image. And they said they had a big close up of a guy with a hat on that looked kind of eerie. Like he's almost like the bad guy.
They still never showed Max von and they did focus a little bit too, which was nice, on the performances in this, the acting. Ellen Burstyn sells that movie. I think she I think she invented a whole lot of horror movie tropes in her reactions to things. Like at that time there wasn't a whole lot of super hyper realistic character driven horror films like this, and the sort of religious themed things. This one and The Omen and a few other ones sort of tapped into that strange genre of religious horror, which was really a huge impact on people back then. There was a lot more religious people back then, and
still around. The possession movies are still big, but I don't think any of them quite understand why The Exorcist worked, which was that sort of really slow burn, making it less about possession and more about all the existential questions surrounding it and religion in today's society and in modern life. Like, how does it work? Does it work? Like, the priest was even having a crisis of faith. So I think that was the important theme of the film over even the demonic possession.
Right. I've always thought that this film would still be interesting and compelling if you took out the part about the demonic possession and just had it be a film about a priest losing his faith and an actress who's, there in Georgetown working on a movie who meets him,
Right.
That would have been a really interesting film. Her life in Hollywood juxtaposed with this priest losing his faith, and but this one has an added bonus. It's got a demonic possession of a little girl.
Exactly.
and I think the thing that one of the reasons that makes this movie so timeless and still on the top of everybody's lists of best horror films, and I've said this a million times, it's the performances. It's Jason Miller, it's Max von Sydow, it's Lee J. Cobb, it's Ellen Burstyn,
shit, man.
And the little girl in it who was very believable, Linda Blair. She did an amazing job in that film, and everyone, even the other characters in the film,
right.
And the direction of the film, and how real it was. I think.
I think you kind of get a feel for that in the trailer too. The kind of just the kind of grounded aspect. I mean, pretty much mostly all happens just in this house. I mean, most of the action's all in one place, and they make the house seem very labyrinth-like, just a lot of hallways and doorways and just stairs. Like it was very well shot.
That great shot,
and then on
the door.
Yeah. And then so that's the Exorcist trailer. So on the other end of the spectrum, we have a super low budget, no stars, a director's first movie. We have Eraserhead. Let's take a look at that.
Yes. That is beautiful.
Gorgeous. I loved everything about this trailer, and I think it looks like I wouldn't doubt if David Lynch even cut this trailer.
Yeah,
because he pulled the scene. Like, I love how they ended on the scene of the Eraserhead guy, Henry, standing there and just having these sort of little micro expressions with the hair and the smoke. They just land on, just sit there on him for so long. David Lynch is the master of just leaving that camera on just a little bit too long, where it just gets awkward, And he does this, and you see teeny hints of in Twin Peaks in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're seeing like curtain background. You're seeing the weird graphic designs on the floor. Yeah. Like that was kind of shocking.
Jack Nance was in Twin Peaks, the first
wrapped in plastic
run of it. Yeah. Jack Nance was so great. He was so perfectly David Lynch. I'm so sad that he's not around anymore to be in more David Lynch films.
I know.
But this movie is, obviously from the trailer does a good job of if you watch that trailer and you think, I want to see this movie, then this movie is probably for you.
It will give you what you want.
It will give
lots
you
of David Lynch, prime David Lynch. Not going to explain anything. It's just going to be what it is, and you just got to take him on his own terms. He's never changed. Always been that.
He does what he wants to do, and fortunately, he's in a position where he can do that. And people get it. There's people who get his world, his realm, his strange dreamlike thing.
Some people don't get it.
Yes, a lot of people don't get it. But the people who do get it at least make it so that he's got the money to make another one here and there.
I think part of it is too because he's such an uncompromising director. That's why I imagine that he directed this trailer, because it just felt like the scenes seemed very graphic and iconic. It didn't even tell a story. It was just mostly like one weird, cool, iconic scene after another. Ending on the poster becomes the art. Like all three of these basically have post art in them.
Yeah.
And you have this pure iconic David Lynch that only he can make work for some bizarre reason. And even in this trailer, it's exactly the same thing. It's like there's no voiceover. There's just that weird cranky metallic sounding music.
There's no dialogue.
I mean, just gorgeous. I just loved it. So
it was shot beautifully, that
very
film.
well done.
It's a movie to revisit. I remember seeing this in the festival. You go to those late night, horrible smelling theaters, midnight screenings. And I remember going to the New Art and seeing this one and going even before that going to other little college theaters that were tucked away. And it was one of those kind of event cult films that was sort of a like this is really something. This is like,
go to this movie and blow your mind.
Yeah,
and I felt different after I saw it. I walked out of the theater going, what? I mean, especially on the big screen, a movie like that, not knowing what to expect because I hadn't really seen much about it. I was like, ooh, this Eraserhead movie sounds really crazy. And you go and see it, and it's like, what the fuck? Oh,
it's inspiring too. I think a lot of, your ideas that you have about what film has to be or should be or whatever, you're like, it doesn't have to be or should be. It can be that. And I was totally entertained. I mean, it's a little bit of a grind in some ways. It's not like you're going to sit down and have fun and, watch this movie and be, you'll laugh, you'll cry, it's like you're going to be
confounded.
You're going to be transformed or transported and confounded. Yes.
Confounded. Like what? I mean, the chicken scene. Just what? So I would advise everyone, if you thought that trailer is even remotely interesting, which of course it is, because it is, then you need to see this. Everyone needs to see this movie once. And just turn all the lights out.
Yeah.
Put it on as loud as you can. Just put it on and just let it do its thing. And it will just get in your head forever. I just think it's such a cool movie.
The doctors aren't even sure if it is a baby.
So good. So that was our first episode. It's a dream and a nightmare.
Yeah.
So this is our first episode where we're going to try and do a bunch of trailer reactions in one episode, where we actually really, really try and dissect the marketing and how it's different from, the current day. And we'll probably even do this with some current day trailers. But I think these older trailers are so much more interesting, because nowadays I feel like they get a little more corporate. I don't think there's a lot of people taking a lot of chances with trailers. So it's fun to see some that are a little more artsy, and even in their time, they just seem just of their time, which makes them special. Just like the Jaws trailer. So so come back and watch our next ones. I know, it's so awesome. So definitely check it out. Keep an eye open, because we're going to start doing a bunch of these.
Yeah. We're going to take a look, going back in time, back into the past.
We're going back in time.
Back to caveman times.
All right.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
The Earth is invaded by indestructible moon monsters.